In 3, 2, 1. Obi Trice, no gimmicks. Chicka, chicka. So what are we talking? Oh yeah, welcome, you guys, to the new and improved. Well, not really new and improved.
The official rebrand of the Anything and Everything podcast.
The Reviews and Brews with the cruise and Dan.
So all right, so today my brew of choice is Scarecrow Pumpkin Juice from Wet Ticket Brewery in Rahway, New Jersey. So when you go into this place and order this like from the draft or whatever, they usually give you some like a cinnamon sugar rim to drink alongside, like so that when you're drinking it, like you get that cinnamon sugar taste to it too. But I didn't decide to make that. I'm just drinking straight out the can, and I really do like this beer. So, cheers to fall season. Nelson, what are you drinking?
So I can't drink. I'm not gonna get into it like for just another few days. So I got a Diet Coke. But from all these though, like you know, us Latinos we really like our deals. You know what I mean? Like we're always like, oh no, we can't get the on brands, and we got to get the off brand, save a little bit of centavos. You know what I'm saying? So we don't get that Coca-Cola, we get Summit Cola.
Well, if anyone's ever looking for a nice pumpkin beer, head on over to Wet Ticket Brewery in Rahway, New Jersey for the Scarecrow Juice. Is what it's
if anyone's
called.
Ever looking for cheap shit, go to Aldi's. get your off-brand Coca-Cola.
All right. So today on the podcast, we will be talking about the top 10 brutal unsolved Halloween murders.
All right, so that's what we'd be talking about. But we're going to change things up a little bit. I do want to talk a little bit, about little things we'll drop here and there, right? So what's some new things that you've been up to, Dan, in like the last week or 2 weeks since we haven't been on, ever since this rebrand?
Yeah, so I have recently been in the studio. So for drops, I'm in the studio currently with Sir Nick. He's on Instagram. You've probably seen a bunch of posts that I've tagged him in or shared of him. So yeah, we're hunkering down, getting some shit done, and by the end of maybe even mid-November, we should have some shit ready to drop for you guys. So stay tuned. What about you, Zenodra? What you got going on?
So I've been doing like a lot of stuff. Oh, did you see that?
Yeah.
I'm just fucking around with this shit. So I've been doing, a lot of stuff. I've been like rewriting a lot of my things. I have a new single coming out on November 9th called Who You Know. All I Ever Wanted is still doing well. I just had an interview. I had an interview with Lost in the Nordics. I have another interview coming out with this other blog, and then probably like 4 or 5 other interviews coming down the pipeline, and then live interview this Tuesday with this magazine on Instagram Live. So I'm excited, a little nervous about that. So I'll probably put that on my story and stuff. So that'll be dope. It's funny. I told my mom, I was like, Ma, I have an interview, like for my song. And she's like, interview? What? She like look. I was kind of getting a little annoyed. I was like, she was like, I was like, yeah, an interview for her. You mean like a job interview? And she was like. And I was like, no, like for my song, I just said that. And she's like, you? For your music? And I'm like, yes, for my music. It's like, really? And I was like, yes, really? Like what? She didn't believe that I like could get out of like damn. Just today, just some people are just trashing me. I was in training today. I went to jiu-jitsu, and then I hadn't been there in like a week. I've been really busy with work. And I told my coach, I was like, coach, I was like, sir, did you miss me? And he's like, of course. And then I was like, aw. And it's like so adorable. And he's like, I'm trying really hard to like you. I was like, damn. Hates me. But yeah. So I have the interview coming up Tuesday, November 1st. And I've also been, updating the backdrop because, me and Dan have like the ultimate plan. I hope Dan updates the backdrop too, much better than that. Just a Jump Force thing in the background. But
please, we got Harry Potter, we got Dragon Ball Z, we got.
You could barely see that. It's a terror. You're gonna see my backdrop, and you're gonna be like, "Yo, I gotta step up my game."
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna do my backdrop till you do your backdrop.
All right. So, but I want to show you some of the pictures so that we get at what the backdrop is. So I'm gonna start posting. So I bought these little things, and I put them in little. I bought these too. So I have one for taxi driver. I have like 12 of them, right? I got, they came like a bunch of movies. I have a bunch too, Dan. If you want some. I'll give it. You could definitely take a look next time we go.
Okay.
Yeah. One of my top films that we talked about previously, Dark Knight. Another one of my top films. Oh, these are all of my top films. Yeah, Fight Club. One of my favorite directors. Another Brad Pitt movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'm not gonna show them all, but Avengers Endgame. Yeah, they're all like around. I'm trying to figure out like how to put them up there or like how to kind of arrange them because I don't really know like exactly how they're gonna end up looking. So I'm like on the floor, kind of just arranging how they're gonna be. I may just end up what I'll probably end up just doing is like kind of doing, what's it called? I'll just take the measurements and then get like some construction paper or something, and then just kind of, do a diagram of like how I'm gonna want it. Because I also bought these shelves. They're various sizes, but there's pretty nice wood.
That is nice.
And I'm gonna place my Harry Potter books on the shelves. And on the top, I may have to get more shelves. I may put other books on the other shelves, like the Game of Thrones books and stuff like that. And then because they don't fit, the shelves weren't big enough to fit my Funko Pops, but I just want to show that I got this one. I don't know if I showed B-Rabbit.
Oh, no, yeah, this is new for the pod.
Yeah, this is dope, though. I really like this one. I may start getting maybe one or two more. And then I also have these. I got to, like, remember that I have these dope-ass posters, too. I have two of these.
You got a lot of shit.
Yeah, I do. Because I wanted to make it look really nice. And I'm actually really excited, to, kind of post it. But I'll show you, Dan, real quick, some of the other pictures just that came in this. And I'll give you some if you want to just put them on your wall or anything. So there's like, things like...
okay.
Yeah, so this is how they came.
Those are nice.
Yeah, there's like... I'm trying to see if there would be a movie that you would like in here. Oh, yeah, one. I think I would give you this one. I think this is cool for you.
Oh yeah, that is a good one.
I'll give you that one.
Wait, what movie? That's not a movie, is it?
No, it's the three. It's just the three. Yeah, it was the only one. It's like one of the few that is like that. Here's another one. This is, I think, Predator, but that was Steve.
Oh yeah.
The Pianist.
I didn't watch that movie.
Did you like Edward Scissorhands?
I did like Edward Scissorhands. I actually was watching it last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Aliens.
That's the classic right there.
Her. He's one of my favorite directors, Spike Jonze.
Did you watch her? Because I did not.
No, she's going by him now. But I'm sorry, don't cancel me. No, but I did not watch. I actually did. No, I did watch her. It was an amazing movie. Anything that Spike Jonze comes up with, I love. One of my favorite movies, definitely of all time, is Where the Wild Things Are. For him to be able to grasp a child's book and make it so like deep and thoughtful, and just like really just the way
I fell asleep during that movie, to be honest.
Such a great movie. I just loved it. It was able to
grasp. I feel like it was just like that. The kid in the beginning just annoyed me. So like from there, I lost interest.
Dodo. Yeah.
All right, I'll give it another shot.
Yeah. That's something that we could do in the future, right? I think there's a way to be able to integrate like a screen share.
Yeah.
And so we can like look up stuff and just, really, definitely that would be dope. I would love to do that, look up streams, look up really about things that we would do in the future and stuff like that. And look up like just really kind of just comparing everything and just comparing different scenes. Like The Shining has like some scenes that I didn't even notice, like director type stuff, which we'll go over in the future. There's a lot to go over. It's all of these movies that I have up here, and that's the whole point of that's how I want the backdrop to look.
Right.
Okay, but we should get started and get into what we're really talking about today, right? Yep.
All right, let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
So you got did you get the link?
Where is the link? Yeah. I did it. I did get it. Let me see. 10 creepy unsolved mysteries that happen on Halloween.
No, the second one. There was 2 I sent.
Mm-hmm.
The top 10 brutal unsolved Halloween murders.
Which one do you want to do?
We can do the top 10 brutal unsolved Halloween murders. Let's do that one.
Brutal unsolved murders by Listverse. Listverse.com.
Yeah, so this article is by Anthony Sfara and fact-checked by Jamie Frater.
These are short, so I could definitely read it.
Yeah, you want to take the first one?
Yeah, I'll go with the first one. It's like in school, like when you'd be like, "Who wants to read?" And one thing I learned, I remember, is like you never make eye contact with the teacher, right? Because if you make eye contact, they'll pick on you. So you just kind of like look down.
See, I always made eye contact because I wanted to read. I was that guy.
What a fucking loser!
Yeah, I was that guy because my thing was like there would be so many people in class that didn't know how to fucking read. I'd be like, I can't do this. Like, no, we're not doing this. So just let me read. We'll get this done and over with. Everyone will understand. So I definitely always volunteered to read.
Gotcha. So I will start. 10. The murder of Roland Deloche and Joseph Smith. So a family's life was turned upside down on Halloween night in 2016. Roland Deloche, 41, and Joseph Smith, 28, resided in Sanford, Florida, and cared for their mother, Barbara, who lived with them. Joseph, an aspiring rapper, was 2 weeks away from releasing an album. At around 9 p.m., an unidentified assailant wearing a mask entered the brothers' home. The masked intruder promptly shot Joseph. Roland, who just returned from work, heard the shot and ran to his family's aid. The gunman simply shot him next. Barbara, witness to her son's murder, was spared, though the intruder made her drop to her knees and beg for her life. Joseph died in the house. Roland died in a nearby hospital. No one knew who'd killed the brothers. Promising development appeared to emerge on November 11th. That day, the Sanford police named the man called Dante James as a person of interest. Day after Halloween, James, along with his girlfriend, Sabeda Seal, also reported as Sabeda Seals, had been arrested on weapons charges. They were released on bond, after which James cut his GPS anklet and fled. He was arrested on November 22nd. Investigators determined that James couldn't have been the murderer, but he and Seal were believed to have information about the killings. However, they wouldn't cooperate with the police. Similarly, Joseph's girlfriend is believed to know something about the incident, but she wouldn't cooperate either. Despite $5,000 reward for any information on the murders, the killer remains at large. So this seems to me just kind of, it doesn't seem too scary. It just seems something that happened on that night, it was death, and that they weren't able to find it. They didn't.
It's funny that he was an aspiring rapper, though.
Yeah. Is that why you picked this article? You're saying, Nelson, you're going to die.
No, I just randomly picked the article, but it just turned out that he was an aspiring rapper.
Seems so, yeah. So, you want to take the next one?
All right, yeah. So next one is the murder of Sylvia Salinas. And this happened on Halloween night in 1989. Sylvia Salinas was working at her small corner store in Galveston, Texas. And she was very aware that she would potentially be robbed. So she kept both a machete and a pistol below the cash register. So whoever had came into the store the day on October 31st, 1989, they must not have sent up any red flags because both the machete and the pistol were untouched. So they're thinking that it was perhaps someone that Sylvia knew that was the reason why she didn't touch anything. But regardless, this unidentified person stabbed Sylvia in the heart and ended her life there on the spot. There were no indications that Sylvia made any attempt to fight back, and she did not trigger the silent alarm. The silent alarm was, however, triggered by the murderer when they tried to pry open the register to take the cash inside. He fled, leaving the knife at the scene. Before police arrived, they cordoned off this area and began to collect evidence. Despite their efforts and the interviewing of around 20 suspects, investigators never found Sylvia's killer. And to make matters worse, the cold case became all the more so in 2008 after much of the evidence was lost to Hurricane Ike. Ooh. And then in 2018, the case received renewed attention when reports hit the news that a critical piece of evidence had in fact survived, which was a videotape made by the police of the crime scene soon after Sylvia was murdered. It shows the crime scene in detail, including both the murder weapon and footprints left by the killer, and now stands as the best hope for solving the murder. Some fingerprints were preserved as well. I just don't understand how, like, you have videotape surveillance, you have fingerprints, but you can't match the fingerprints to anything. Like, sometimes I want to be like an investigator or a detective.
You think you would be able to figure out cases that other people wouldn't be able to?
I feel like most of the time, I mean, this took place in 1989. So I feel like we definitely didn't have the technology back then that we do now for it.
Mm-hmm.
But with everything being washed away during Hurricane Ike, I mean, that's just a shitty situation for the records.
That's true.
But like 20 suspects, like 20 suspects and none of them turns up anything. That's crazy. Like, where were you looking?
Well, they didn't catch the Zodiac killer for years, and that was like national. Like, there was national spotlight on that case. Mm-hmm. So for more cases that were like more localized, I could see them kind of just hiding it. And I feel like,
mm-hmm.
I don't want to say that they don't care, but some investigators are like, whatever, just do what they got to do and then just go home, clock out.
That's true.
And sometimes it's hard to, I know that with a lot of cases, and this expands beyond just like, horrible grisly murders, but just sometimes they know who did the actual killing, but then it just becomes like they don't know. Like, not that they don't know. I mean, like, that they say that they don't know because they don't have enough evidence to implicate whoever is supposed to be implicated.
Right.
Take the Biggie and Pac murders. I think they know who did it. Like, they're very adamant on who did both, and they just never had enough, I guess, information to kind of implicate the individuals that were a part of it. So
that's true.
Mm-hmm. So there's been a bunch of documentaries, especially more recently, that implicated who were the people that killed both. So, yeah. But just my chart. I need to get my charger, so please read the next one while I go get it.
Yeah, I got you.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so next on the list we have the murder of Anthony Seabell. So this happened on Halloween night in 2013, and it was a violent one in New York City. So 3 men were shot to death in Brooklyn, and 2 others suffered non-fatal gunshot wounds in Queens. One of the Brooklyn killings received a bit more attention than the others, and this was the person that we're about, Anthony Seabell. So around 30 p.m., Anthony, who was 19, was walking on East 31st Street in the Farragut neighborhood when a man wearing a ghost face mask, immediately recognizable from the Scream movies, fired upon him. A bullet struck Anthony in the head, and the ghost face mask perpetrator ran off. Anthony was taken to Kings County Hospital, where he died. Despite initial media attention due to the murder dressing as a horror movie villain, there was little subsequent reporting on the case. The identity of the man in the Scream mask has yet to be determined. So, I mean, that being said, there are people out here who think it's funny to try and mimic some of the Halloween horror movies, and this just so happened to be one of those times. I mean, it's unfortunate that there's really no way of finding a person who shoots and runs, especially when they're wearing a mask. But I don't know. It's just surprising that even with all the media attention that this received, there's still no leads or anything like that. There's so much crime that happens in New York City too that it's like the NYPD has a lot on their hands. Next, we got the murder of Derek Green. Yep. You can take number 7. I said, yeah, no, I finished. You can take number 7.
All right, the murder of Derek Green. At the end of October 1980, Derek Green had spent 2 months in Bristol, England, temporarily working for British Aerospace in nearby Filton. Though he was known to enjoy quite a few drinks when he would go out to town, Derek wasn't noted for being quarrelsome or prone to participating in bar fights. That fact made his fate all the more shocking to those who knew him. On the evening of October 30th, Derek went to 2 nightclubs, Bur's Vicky's and The Curves, both of which were on Park Street. At around 2 a.m. on October 31st, he left Curves, presumably to return to his room at the Unicorn Hotel. However, he chose to walk down Brandon Hill Lane, a move which would later perplex detectives. Whatever his intentions, Derek never returned to the hotel. Later that morning, a nurse discovered him dead in a pool of his own blood at Brandon's Hill, lying face down. A sand-filled traffic cone was found 200 feet away. Derek had been beaten to death with this unusual murder weapon, and the attackers appeared to have repeatedly kicked his body as it lay on the ground. The motive was believed to have been robbery. Derek's bank cards were scattered around the crime scene, and between 50 and 60 pounds had been stolen from his pockets. It's possible that the murderer saw Derek dropping large amounts of cash at the clubs and followed him. Aside from the murder weapons, another clue was present in the form of a bloody footprint on the back of Derek's shirt. Leads soon surfaced. Several witnesses came forward to describe 3 or 4 men attacking a lone victim near Clifton Hill at around 3 a.m. A red Jaguar sports car, not normally seen in the area, was also reported to have been around. However, the leads didn't pan out, and advances in forensics over the years haven't managed to shed any more light on the murder. Analysis of the traffic cone has provided little useful information. In 2009, the pockets of Derek's clothes were scoured in hoping of finding DNA left by whoever killed him, but this too proved fruitless. The case remains unsolved. So, it just seemed like a typical robbery.
Yeah, I'm not sure how things are in England, so... Oh, there we go. Now it's charging.
Mm-hmm. Your turn.
All right. Next, we got the murder of Norton Gregory.
Let me see what you did.
So this happened in Kirkland, Washington. And Kirkland, Washington was a quiet place in the 1950s. On the road to nearby Redmond, which today is much busier, Northeast 70th Street, stood a small gas station and convenience store. It had been opened by Norton Gregory in 1952. Norton lived a few blocks away with his wife Helen and their 6 children. On October 31st, 1957, a customer, Mrs. O'Farrell, entered the store to find Norton lying on the floor. He had been shot in the head 5 times. Amazingly, he was still clinging to life at that point, though he would ultimately succumb to his wounds. Mrs. O'Farrell called the King County Sheriff's Office, and officers soon arrived. She never set foot in the store again. The coroner later found out that the 5 gunshots Norton took, 3 were fired from close range. It was speculated that perhaps he had come across someone stealing money from the cash register, and the thief panicked and started shooting. Rumors flew about people with grudges or that Norton had gambling debts, but these were never substantiated. To the amazement of many, Helen reopened the store only a few weeks after Norton's death and ran it herself. She later married a sheriff's deputy. In 1958, it seemed for a time that the case was going to be solved. A teenager confessed to killing Norton and told authorities where the murder weapon could be found. However, it turned out that the boy had been a patient at Western State Hospital on the day of the murder. This case has gone quite cold since then. The most recent notes in the file are from 1966. It is entirely possible that Norton's killer is now dead. I mean, with that much time passing, I definitely, I would say that the killer's probably dead at this point. Hold on, we got another viewer on Twitch. Okay, we had 3 people come in.
That's dope. So let's skip around, to the next few, I guess, cases, right?
Yeah, I mean, we don't even have to hit all 10.
Yeah. I want to do number 2 and number 1.
Yeah, go for it.
Number 2. And then we can end it. So we're talking again about, some grisly murders that happened in Halloween, right? We're keeping that Halloween theme. So the next one is called the murder of Teresa Venegas. So 16-year-old Teresa Venegas of Dickinson, Texas, was last seen walking around 11 p.m. on October 31st, 2006. On November 3rd, her body was found in a disused soccer field, lying face down in a puddle. The teenage girl had been raped and strangled. According to her family, Teresa was murdered with her own belt. The killer also felt the need to cut her long hair short. Not long beforehand, Teresa's friend, 15-year-old Kimberly Ramsey, had gone missing. She was found alive not long after Teresa was murdered, and the person she was with was charged with harboring a runaway. However, it was ultimately determined that her disappearance had nothing to do with the murder. It was worth noting that Teresa's case had been linked to an area known as the Texas Killing Field, a stretch of land in which around 30 murder victims have been found since the 70s, primarily girls and young women. As of 2018, Teresa's case was still considered open, but detectives admitted that they were short on clues. Many leads had been followed, and 45 people had been questioned about the murder, but no suspects had been named. Neither investigators nor Teresa's family have been any intention of giving up on the search for a killer, however. Now, this is more in line with what we imagine to be like a grisly murder, especially that part where they cut the hair. That was interesting.
Yeah, because like, what purpose does that serve? It's like you
behind that.
You rape and kill someone and then cut their hair so that it's no longer like long hair. Exactly. Like I feel like that's some sort of like serial fetish type of situation. I mean, they also didn't mention in this article whether or not like if any of the other victims on this, what's that place called, Texas Killing Fields, like if when they were found, was their hair cut as well? So I don't know.
That's a good thing. That's a good point. They probably did check that. I would, because if you would like to think that about that super quickly, I would think to kind of check to see if that type of MO was found in other bodies or found, across the other victims. So yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, and this is definitely more in line with what I was thinking, like in regards to like kind of like more of the grisly murder that we imagine, like with kind of like Jeffrey Dahmer.
Right.
Which I recommend, that show. It's on Netflix. Is really good. Mm-hmm.
It was. I will co-sign on that because I've been watching it and it has been crazy to watch for sure. I mean, I realized like I knew of Jeffrey Dahmer, but I didn't know just what he did during his time outside of jail.
Mm-hmm.
Watching the show, it's like, damn, I did not know he was doing all this shit.
He's bad, but he's definitely not as bad. Like they also introduced John Wayne Gacy
in the show.
Yeah,
that must be in the last episode then.
Oh, you didn't watch the whole series yet?
No, not yet. I think I have like 2 episodes left.
Yeah, they talk about him. He's definitely not as bad as John Wayne Gacy, in my opinion. You'll see. Like he's see, that's the thing.
I mean, they're all terrible.
Yeah, but it's also, you know what I mean? Like, is he truly evil or is he truly like the way that they described Gacy was like Gacy was like evil. Dahmer, the way that they portray him is that he's bad, but that he's like extremely disturbed and psychopathic. Like there's something wrong with him.
I mean, I feel like you like.
I don't know. What do you think about it?
Not all serial killers have to be like psychopathic.
Yeah, but it's like a different type. Like it's like while he is psychopathic, he's like it's like something that I feel like if they had caught earlier on, they may have been able to kind of fix. Like they definitely make it a point to put some blame on the parents if you notice like how everything is kind of set up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely pretty obvious the way that they kind of like set the things. They do try to humanize him a little bit if you notice during the and I think
I think that's what most people have an issue with when it comes to the entire show, like trying to like humanize a monster. It's like this guy was eating people, killing people, leaving them in like acid, like just doing the most. And not even and then he was like drugging people and raping them, and he was just constantly getting away with it. So
Oh, that was a lot of things. Yeah, that was going on.
Yeah.
That was interesting. But yeah, man, it's a great show. I recommend it. I would love to see them, the same guys, do the John Wayne Gacy show. Though I think that
It's Ryan Murphy, the same guy that does American Horror Story.
Yeah, I know. He did also The Watcher, which was a good show at the beginning, and then it kind of just falls off.
Was it not as suspenseful as you had hoped?
Yeah, it kind of reminded me, not in the way. Remember that show? Was it called Apartment, or what was it? Archive.
Archive 81.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, like how it starts really, really good, and then kind of drops off towards the end. It's like kind of like that, how it drops off toward the end. But it's still a good show. I definitely recommend, but Dahmer is definitely good from beginning to end. 100%.
Did you watch that show, The Woman in the House Across the Street or whatever?
No, I have not watched that yet.
With Kristen Bell.
Oh, I may check that.
It looks suspenseful. I haven't watched it, but I've been meaning to give it a shot.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely check it out. On a tangent, now I'll leave that for next time. It has nothing to do with horror or anything.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
All right, so the last one is the murder of Catherine Armstrong. So this took place in 1963. Catherine Lily Armstrong was a 70-year-old pensioner living in Newcastle upon Tyne in England. The devout Methodist had made plans to attend a meeting of her church's choir, with which she sang on a regular basis at 7:30 p.m. on the night of October 31st. While she was seen very much alive and well about an hour beforehand, she didn't show up at the meeting. The next morning, Catherine's cousin, Ada Ridley, came to visit and was surprised to see that Catherine's curtain was still closed. There was no answer at the door, so Ada called the police. They received no answer either. A sergeant entered the home and found that Catherine had been savagely murdered, stabbed 28 times in the head and face. A nylon stocking had been tied around her neck. Although there were no signs of forced entry, defensive wounds on her hands indicated that Catherine had fought back against her attacker. The investigation into Catherine's murder would be the largest the areas had ever seen at that time. Leave was canceled for Newcastle's police force, and those officers already on leave were called back to work. Mere hours after the body was found, Scotland Yard was called for assistance. The area was extensively searched for the murder weapon, but to no avail. A month later, 50 detectives were working 8 hours a day to solve the murder. By the start of next year, 16,000 people had been questioned. All the same, investigators had nothing. There were plenty of ideas. Some believed that a group of teenagers had murdered Catherine. Police scoured the files of anyone recently released from prison who had been convicted of violence against older women. A man who had been the prime suspect in the beating death of a 71-year-old woman was closely examined. None of these avenues of investigation led anywhere, though. To this day, no one knows who stabbed Catherine Armstrong to death on Halloween night in 1963. Damn. That's crazy. 70 years old and just murdered like that, savagely.
It's terrible. Damn. 16,000 people.
Yeah, that was a hefty investigation right there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they wasted no resources.
Damn. I could see how this was why it was what's that?
Good.
Yeah, why it was like so heavily investigated, and it looks like she was like a pillar of the community,
Mm-hmm.
And stabbed 28 times.
Right?
So terrible way to go.
I like reading this type of shit makes me want to get into like forensic science, because like, how do you determine what a defensive wound is?
That's true. Yeah, no, I don't know. I remember I would watch Dexter. You know that show Dexter. He was in the show. He was a forensic. What is it called? Forensic scientist. Forensic.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. So it was like interesting. They kind of went into that a little bit. Analyzing blood splatter and seeing how the attacker would come and be able to kind of do stuff and like that. It was interesting. I know a lot of the stuff was like fake, but it would be pretty interesting to kind of see how people like that work and being able to see that all the time. I don't know if I'd be able to do that.
Oh no, being like having to go into like crime scenes and looking at like dead bodies on the ground and shit like that. That's a lot. It definitely takes a certain type of person to be able to do that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So which of these stories would you say is the most brutal?
Probably the number one. Like 28 times in the head and face. Like, damn.
Yeah, I was going to say that as well.
That's a kind of excessive in my opinion. Very excessive.
It's like,
but yeah, I definitely, we could definitely do another one of these days,
What do you want to talk about for the next one? The next one is the last one for the month of October, I think.
Yeah.
Actually, no. It'll be done.
Oh no, today's the last one, right?
Today's the last one.
Maybe we could do another one before we have time. I would love to talk about maybe one or two more Halloween things. Like I don't love Halloween as a holiday, but I do love like horror movies and things like that. I actually, speaking of horror movies, the one thing I don't have. Yeah, go ahead, speak.
No, I was gonna say. I mean, we could do maybe a Halloween, like Halloween day one. That's a
Halloween
Monday.
Day. The one picture I do have. I have Jaws.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, that one I did put in. I think there's like some dust in here though.
It's Halloween classic.
Yeah, it's like the original, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before like really anything. There were definitely before that. Before that, it was like hard. Like you have, of course, what's it called? Psycho. By Alfred Hitchcock. But other than that, I don't really think there's much. Right?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I can't think of any. I don't know why there was dust on this shit. But yeah, that's definitely one of the top ones.
You see the most recent banner?
For what?
For the stream.
You made a banner? Oh, I didn't even say that.
No, I just realized it.
We're dating, guys. It's official.
You know what's funny? I had an interview today. I mean, not today. Yesterday, and the person interviewing me, we both had on button-ups, checkered blue.
Oh.
So this has just been a theme this week.
Who made it? Who like said something first? You or him?
He did.
That's good though. It makes it
No, it was definitely like some banter outside of like formal interview process for sure.
Which is good because then that puts them in your, you know what I mean? That gives. Then there's like more. They'll remember you more.
Yeah.
So that's good. But yeah. Next, I guess we'll start talking about stuff like that. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, so we'll figure out what to talk about by next week.
Yeah, and I gotta figure out what to do with all these pictures and stuff. Put up the, you know.
Yeah, you got a lot going on in that room over there.
Yeah, it's a lot. I feel like I just gotta do one step at a time. I just don't know. It's just because it's like I want to get it right, and it's so hard, especially when there's so many. I gotta say variables because I got the shelves and stuff. Like, where am I gonna put the shelf? Like, then I gotta make sure that the pictures are around the shelf, like
Yeah.
are good too. So it's a lot, but I'll figure it out. But yeah, I guess we can end it there.
Yeah, well, thank you everyone for joining us on the first episode of the rebrand and the new and improved Reviews and Brews podcast. We hope you enjoyed the content for today. Make sure you go out and stream All I Ever Wanted on all platforms by Zenodro. And stay tuned.
All right. Thank you, guys.
And catch us for a special Halloween stream on Monday, Halloween Day. See you then.
See you.